I think it's looking good. Can you hear me now?
Are we live?
No, not yet.
No? Okay.
We're still like free show.
Hello. You got me?
I hear you.
I hear you.
What's up, boys?
What's up, man?
What's up, Darren?
Just chilling.
Finally making this happen.
He's drinking beer, I'm drinking coffee, you know. It's best of both worlds.
You're left out.
Isn't it morning there for you guys?
Yeah. We're starting, you're ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's pretty late here. It's beer o'clock.
Oh man, I wish I had a beer right now too. I feel left out.
I could do it with a whiskey.
I mean, it's not like I'm doing anything else today, so.
Not like we're all doing anything else.
Hey, are you guys wanting to test anything?
We're good on our end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And we're just rolling right now.
This is our first international
Yeah.
podcast, so we are excited to test the limits of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's start what's your background and everything like that? Like because I'm Florida's Fittest podcast. Like this is like what we try to do. I want to hear like other people's stories and how they got into fitness and like their strength background in sports and everything like that. So we'll start right there.
Yeah, awesome. So my background, I was a professional alcoholic and drug user in my teenage years because I came from a broken home. I came from domestic violence and all that type of thing, and my stepfather who brought me up ended up dying in jail and all that type of thing. So I ended up getting into drugs and alcohol pretty heavy as a teenager, and then at the age of about 19, 20, I watched. I was drunk and I was watching Pumping Iron.
Nice.
And my friends were saying, "Oh, that's gay, it's stupid," and all that sort of thing. And I was just like, "Man, that's awesome." And the next day, I was drinking and eating creatine and alcohol and pumping weights in my bedroom and vomiting and getting drunk and then more weights and one thing led to another. I ended up in a gym, and then at the 21, 22 mark, someone said, "You got to compete." I'm like, "In what?" And then they said, bodybuilding, and then I had my first competition in 2004. I didn't even place, stood on the stage, went off, whatever. And then won Mr. Tasmania in 2006, Mr. Australia in 2006 as well, so Mr. Tasmania, Mr. Australia, and then went to Germany to the Mr. Universe and got 5th.
That's awesome. Like I've always said, like struggle breeds like greatness, and like having those hard times in your life, they ultimately make you the person you are. And like I've had my own struggles. Like my earliest memories, like I had my biological father was never in my life, and he pretty much walked out on me and my family when I was 3. And I always grew up like very angry, and
You had a real chip on your shoulder.
I had like the biggest chip on my shoulder. And the only way for me, because like I went for like a couple of years where I just didn't talk to anyone, and the only way my mom could get me to interact with other people and to have an outlet was through sports. So I started playing basketball. Was my first year I sucked, and then after that I had to learn how where like if I want to be good at something, I really have to work at it. So I practiced like every day.
Real quick, who do you go for?
Who do I go for in basketball?
Yeah.
I don't watch professional sports anymore, but we'll talk about that later. But
Damn.
I have this huge big deal with professional sports. Like I just don't like it
Sure.
anymore. But
We'll get into it.
yeah. But growing up, I'm from New York, so like I was a Knicks fan, and then being a '90s kid, I was a huge Michael Jordan fan.
Same.
And I really like Michael Jordan was like basically my idol from like 3 to like 10 years old. And so I really got into basketball. which led me into football because all my friends were playing football at the time, American football. And that was like the first time where I felt like, oh, I could hit somebody and not get in trouble. And like, yeah, so like I really got into that. And obviously in my first year I was, I didn't know anything. I knew like probably like 2 positions. And, I had to really work at what I needed to do. And thankfully my stepfather was a football coach. So I kind of learned a lot from him. And which after that kind of led me, I played like multiple sports during that time, which led me to swimming. And my mom was a swimmer. She was a state level swimmer, and then I got into swimming shortly after, and I swam competitively from the age of 8 to all the way through college, and made it to like the national level, qualified for Olympic trials 2 times, qualified for world champ trials, and got a scholarship to Florida State University. And then basically after that, I started lifting, and it was like a whole 15 years of my life where my sole purpose of competing was one, to like be able to express myself, because I was so angry and hostile towards pretty much everyone in my life, and then kind of break me out of my shell and be able to express myself. So,
how old are you, bro?
I'm 28.
Yeah, cool.
How old are you, Darren?
39.
No, what? No way.
Old enough to know better.
You would think. We're still learning, though. I'm 36.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, I guess I'm like a lot closer to you in background as far as like getting into the fitness world.
Sure.
For me, it was more like I was more of a nerd in high school. So my parents thought I got into drugs, but I never did this stuff. But they like hammered me hard because I grew up in a traditionally Filipino home back in Los Angeles. And so I just got the weight of that. But for the most part, I just wanted to go out and skate, play my guitar. It's just nothing exciting there. And it wasn't until after I got out of the Air Force where I was like, well, I need to stay healthy, because if I ever get hurt, I'm going to end up in the hospital. I don't have any money, so I should probably start working out. And that's how that all kind of started for me. And I developed more of an appreciation for fitness and sports. So it's cool that we all kind of came at this in like different ways. Like for you, it was paths. Like a path out of being a junkie, basically.
Sure.
And I think it's like awesome. Like like I said before, like I always felt struggle breeds greatness, and those hard times shape us, mold us into better things. And like we all got into sports differently. Like my brother had a totally different background than I did, even though we kind of grew up. We were only 3 years apart, and he got into sports mostly because I pushed him into it. I was like, listen, like I became such a good athlete, like you're gonna have to do something with me. So, and I kind of shoved him into it, and he actually ended up loving it. So, yeah.
I love it. I love that that we can talk from one side of the world to the other.
Yeah.
About coming from different places to the same place.
Well,
and that is health and fitness.
How'd you expand from? Because you've got a lot of stuff going on. I think you did some coaching when you did your physique training, right? I think after that you started coaching and training people.
I became a personal trainer after I finished up with bodybuilding. So I stopped bodybuilding in 2007 after 7 years of training and competing, and I did that because of just the steroids, and the steroids were becoming too much. And when I got to 2007, I was told that I had to triple my use and all that sort of thing, and I was just like, I'm out. So on the way home from Germany on the plane, I decided to quit. And when I got back, I found it really hard to quit because, the way you feel when you use anabolic steroids is like superhuman, like Superman. So I'm going back to normal, and I'm transitioning from that superhuman to normal. And that's when I picked up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and got off the steroids and started out as a white belt in 2008. It's now 2020. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now and run my own academy. But and also have a personal training studio, so that continues. Look, man, I just think the pursuit of health and fitness is lifelong, and I think that once you come to kind of an end of one era, you need to start another. I never had a vision in my mind that I would be bodybuilding my entire life. I think that everything is cyclic, everything comes in cycles, and we need to trial everything. You need to try every sport, not just get headstrong into one athletic pursuit. I think it becomes stale. I think it's very common to become bitter.
Yeah.
And our sports and our pursuits become jobs. I think we need to keep that zest in ourselves. And once we reach a certain peak, it doesn't have to be the top, but we can be anywhere at our top, and we compete against ourselves. Once we reach that, we need to move on or shake it up within what we're doing. And that's where I certainly am from in the mindset. I'm thinking about doing yoga soon,
Yeah.
And I'm a muscled guy, and that's going to be a huge step outside my comfort zone to be doing yoga, but I can't wait for that type of thing. And obviously, if you've seen anything on my social media, I'm starting Wim Hof. I'm starting the breathing, and
we talked about that earlier.
Sure, and even getting in the ocean. For me, I'm fearful of the ocean, but I'm in there. That's another thing I'll talk about later about my fears. But I think that we need to pursue and taste and try everything.
Yeah, I agree. Like a little bit more about our background. Like I've always been like a weight room junkie, pretty much. Like I've always,
sure.
And it started when I was playing football. I needed to obviously prepare myself for getting hit or delivering hits. So I started working out in my garage. My dad gave me like a little circuit to do, and then once I got to high school, I'm not built like a prototype swimmer. I don't have great height. I don't have extremely long limbs.
What's your height and weight, bro?
So I'm 5'10", and I'm 190 now. But my race weight was like about 170. So what is that in kilos? Shit.
220. 220 is 90 kilos, yeah.
220.
No, 220 is 100 kilos.
Yeah, 220 to 100 kilos. So, hold on, doing quick math here.
Not advisable.
Yeah.
Probably not the best.
So 2.2 kilo per.
So I was about 77 kilos when I was
sure.
when I was racing, and you totally, like when I go swimming now, I totally sit differently in the water, but
Right.
it definitely helped me a lot, and I was definitely a lot smaller than a lot of my other swimmers, a lot of my teammates. Like my teammates averaged between 6'3" and 6'4" on the team. The tallest person on my team was 6'10", so was that? It's a couple of meters, right? Like it's almost
Hold on, I've got this. I've got it up actually.
Yeah.
So
I operate in feet. I'm okay with feet.
So you do the empirical system then?
Yeah, so I'm 6 foot tall and
Okay.
I'm 100
Okay.
kilos, so I'm 220.
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, my tallest teammate was 6'10", and then the average height on the men's
far,
team.
right.
Yeah. So I was basically racing people who were, almost double my height, and well, not double my height, but at least like a foot taller than me.
Wait, 6'10"?
Sure.
Yeah. Twiggy was 6'10".
Ugh,
Yeah.
Wow.
that's insane.
But I always like being discounted, because like when I race those, obviously the taller athletes, they're like, who's this like short kid, stepping up to the blocks with us, and then all of a sudden, I'll touch the wall first, and they'll look up at the jumbotron and like, who the hell is in lane 1? And I'll just wave and like, yeah, that was me, and I'll climb out. So it was always nice being discounted, because they gave me obviously they fed my chip on my shoulder, but it kind of like boosts my morale a little bit, and my teammates loved it because they're like, yeah, don't sleep on Mark, because he'll race you. He doesn't care how tall you are or how big you are. Like he'll race you.
Destroy you.
So,
Yeah.
but we'll talk about so you've been doing more of the Wim Hof stuff, and I've always been very comfortable in the water, and we were talking about it earlier, like I've always felt like cold water makes you swim faster, and I think like putting yourself in uncomfortable positions makes you grow stronger.
Absolutely, man. I talk about that every day.
Yeah. Like I've been training. I've trained special operations candidates.
Wow.
Like Navy SEAL. I trained a SEAL, Navy SEAL.
You did, yeah.
And I trained a couple of SWIC people and a couple of PJ candidates, paratrooper candidates, and like one of the biggest things that right off the bat is like they freak out when they're underwater. And what I tell like the kids that I teach, from like toddlers to adults, like you have to be calm. Like if you fight the water, you're gonna lose every single time. So like if you can stay calm underwater, you can stay calm on the battlefield, and like you can stay calm in the classroom, you can stay calm in all aspects of life. You can stay calm in an element that is not your world, basically.
I agree. And when I get hit by these big waves in the surf, I've started bodyboarding. I'm going out into these Australian waters that are deep and heavy and they're dark and they rip and it pulls you out into the ocean and you've got to fight against that. Man, I can fight. I don't know how to explain this. I can fight.
Yeah.
But when you're fighting water, you got nothing.
Yeah.
And the main thing that I've learned is just what you said, is to remain calm. So when I'm getting smashed by these waves, I don't try and climb and fight. I just let loose.
Yeah.
Is that right, you reckon?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I've done ocean rescue. Like after I graduated college and got a real job, I did ocean rescue for a couple of years. And that was the biggest thing, like rescuing people from like riptides and like, we had a couple of hurricanes and stuff like that. People go out in storms for some reason. Like they like to swim right after a storm or when a storm's coming in, and I'll have to go and like save them. And, like they'll start freaking out and like clawing me and stuff. Like I'm like, I have to tell them like remain calm. And like I know from my background, like I can hold my breath a lot longer than they could. So I was like, listen, if you're gonna fight me, I'm gonna drag you down to the bottom of the ocean. And we're just gonna sit there, hang tight. But
Wow.
You definitely have to remain calm. Like Mother Nature is gonna basically fuck you sideways each and every way until like you let loose. So it's a whole big process, and for somebody who wants like a lot of control aspects, you're not gonna control Mother Nature. She's gonna do what she wants to do. So you have to, but basically, like you said, just like relax and like let loose, and let nature run its course, and then basically do what you need to do after that.
Yeah,
I agree with you. It's hard to do though.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard to do.
Where you are right now in your swimming progression? Like for me, like I'm just like I can't swim. I absolutely zero can't.
Neither can I.
Really?
Not at all.
Not at all.
There he goes.
Not one bit. So I'm in the ocean, but I'll only go to like a head height. But I've got a board.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
If I didn't have that board, I'd be dead.
So you're mostly doing like boogie boarding or like the body surf? Yeah.
Just the board, man.
Yeah.
I won't go in the ocean without the board.
Okay.
So that board is my lifesaver.
Yeah.
I'm learning how to go left and right and all that sort of thing.
Nice.
But the main thing for me on the swimming progression is that my fear. So, Mark, to answer your question, I don't give a fuck about how I swim.
Yeah.
I give a fuck about if I survive.
Yeah.
So if I enter that water, I'm thinking about sharks.
Yeah.
I've got a deep-seated fear. I watched Jaws when I was younger. And I've got a stupid deep-seated fear.
Yeah.
And I envisage sharks grabbing me, ripping me, and this is while I'm in the water, and I just go, fuck it, I'm here, and I'm not getting out under any circumstances.
Yeah. And
So I don't know if I saw a shark, I don't know what I'd do. Maybe just put my head down and just die. I don't want to swim away because it's going to eat me legs up.
yeah.
You put him in a triangle.
No, man, I don't know about that.
I mean, you go, obviously with any predator, you go for the soft spots, the eyes, the gills, the nose. But yeah, I've
heard that.
Yeah, I've
You
had.
can try, but
Yeah, you can try.
it's his element.
Two run-ins with sharks when I was doing ocean rescue. One was during my
No way.
one was during my cert, where you have to do 500 meters open water. And I was with a group of people, but like I swam collegiately, like and most of these people never did. So I started swimming, and I was, meters ahead of everyone. and I'm by myself, and when I say like the hair on the back of my neck stood up in the water, like I knew something was near me. I just didn't know how close.
Wow.
So I just closed my eyes and kept swimming because like, what am I gonna do? Like if, you know, we have in Florida we have bull sharks, which are,
Yeah, I've heard
bull sharks are what probably the most aggressive
They're
sharks,
really aggressive,
or
yeah.
one of the most aggressive species of sharks. So I was like, I don't know what's near me, but I know something's near me. And I kept swimming, and finally, one of the other guards came up with a jet ski. He's like, "Hey, you know there was like a 10-foot bull shark, maybe like 5 yards away from you."
Damn.
I'm like, why didn't you bring the jet ski closer to me? He's like, well, I had all these people behind you. I was like, no, fuck them. I look like a seal. You come rescue me first. And he started laughing. I'm like, no, I'm dead serious. Like, I look like food.
You look like food.
Come save me. He's like, well, you're almost done. So I didn't, you know, I figured you'd get to shore and, you know, before the shark would get you. I'm like, dude, fuck you. And then like the other time I was learning how to surf, and there was a report of like 2 tiger sharks coming out of the jetty where I was near, and I'm like, ah, fuck it, I'm coming back in. I'm not getting into another encounter with one of those.
Where was this, man?
So the first one was Anna Maria Island in Florida,
Yeah.
and then the second one is, you know, in Florida is a beach called North Jetty in you know, Southwest Florida, in near Venice. So yeah.
And you guys have alligators too, yeah?
Oh, what? What was that?
You guys have alligators, yeah?
Yeah, we have alligators. Yeah. Those are mostly in like.
Damn, man, it's like Australia over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We just don't have the giant stuff.
Yeah. I've always said like Florida's kind of like the
It's like
the American version of Australia,
Yeah.
except a lot smaller.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have quite a lot of wildlife. Like I've encountered alligators too during when I was a police officer. I had a couple of run-ins with alligators where I had to pull out my rifle and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff. But,
You were a police officer, man.
yeah.
Wow.
So that was
Are you still a cop?
no. There's certain things that happened.
that we will not discuss.
Yeah, that we won't discuss, but no longer
No
in law
comment.
enforcement. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a free man right now.
Good.
He's just going back to his black dolphin ways.
Yeah. Well, that was my nickname when I was swimming. So obviously, not many African Americans you see swimming. So my teammates were like, "Dude, you're like a black dolphin swimming." Because I was a butterflyer, and they're like, other than Sabir Muhammad, I've never seen anybody move the way you do in the water. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's how I grew up. I don't know. I mean,
That's
just doing
awesome.
me. So.
Unreal.
Yeah. But like the strength stuff, like I got into like strength conditioning while I was swimming. I was really a big proponent of it because I obviously had to swim against taller athletes. And then after I got injured 3 weeks before Olympic trials in 2012, I tore my labrum on my shoulder.
Oh, damn.
And yeah, it like I got into like a really like probably like a year-long depression because like for almost 8 years, like that was my dream to compete at the Olympic trials and hopefully make the Olympic team. And I had the team doctor at Florida State, Dr. Stowers. He pretty much told me that I'd never be able to swim again, and that I wouldn't be able to lift anything over my head. And basically, like me being me, I'm stubborn as fuck. I pretty much told him like, go fuck yourself. Like I'm gonna go get a second opinion. And then Dr. Schofield, where I live in Sarasota, he said like, if you do a year of rehab and wear a sling on your arm for like 6 months, like you'll regrow the tendon and you'll be able to swim. You have like a 50% shot of swimming and competing again. So I was like, dude, 50% is better than nothing. So I did that, and I swam masters swimming, which is like 18 and up after, and it's like amateur swimming. And most of these, the way I see master swimming is all the people you beat as a kid who never made the podium and now are older and are all disgruntled and they take it way too seriously. Like those are masters athletes. or at least for swimming at least. So I did that for like a year and kind of got like my last hurrah out of swimming. But I was actually swimming the 100 fly faster than when I was competing in college with but I couldn't swim anything over 100 yards basically after that.
Wow.
Like my 200 was terrible, but I got back into it. And I kind of got it out of my system, and I really focused more on like CrossFit and Olympic lifting after that, and which I was like mostly doing that stuff in college.
Speaking of injuries, I had my pec major torn straight off the bone.
Oh.
So torn off the humerus. So I was caught in an arm lock in a jiu-jitsu tournament, and bang, just completely tore off. Had to get it. They had to bolt it, carbon fibre.
Big audible pop.
Yeah, full pop, and I had that carbon fibre bolted it back onto the humerus, and I was slinged up, and man, that was me. That was that, and I've got this one as well. I'm not sure if you can. I'm not sure if you can see this.
Oh, nice.
That's gnarly.
I had it.
The cut over the eyebrow,
Yeah, right up here. And I've got no feeling in my head on the left hand side, right through to the back of my skull. So if I tap my eyebrow here, it tingles all the way through up to the back of my head. And if I touch the back of my head, I can feel it in my eyebrow. So,
wow.
And when I get in the shower, the hot water, I can't feel it on my left hand side. So, many broken fingers. I had sciatica, things like that. Just through bodybuilding, squatting 180 kilos for reps, 200 kilos for reps. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu flat out for 12 years. Injuries, guys. Talk to me about injuries.
So you just hit it hard.
Yeah.
Is that what it was? You were just going at it hard? Because for me, the thing is, like, when I got into training, I was always very conscious about not injuring myself.
Sure.
So part of the focus was actually paying attention to mobilizing a lot and stretching a lot and doing a lot. I would rather hurt myself stretching and mobilizing than hurting and then losing progress on what I was doing. So I don't really have a history of injury necessarily.
Well, I feel like if you do anything at a high level, like if you're bodybuilding and you're a competitive bodybuilder, you're going to get injured. I've had injuries. Like swimming's a non-contact sport, but yet I had a concussion when I was swimming. I tore my labrum. I've had numerous of overuse injuries with my different joints and stuff like that. So if you do anything, my dad is he hates CrossFit. He hates it, and I used to compete for not at a high level, but at a local level in CrossFit, and he hates it because he's old school, and he's like, you're gonna get injured like that. I never got injured lifting weights, not yet at least. But overuse stuff, you're knock on wood. But if you do anything at a high level, you're gonna get injured. It doesn't matter what you do.
Absolutely.
I've always believed that, and he's kind of have to get it through his thick skull. I'm gonna get injured sooner or later. So
are you doing the yoga to kind of protect against any more injuries and sort of recover a little bit of that?
Yeah, Mark, I'm going to do yoga because I'm old.
You're not that old.
You're not old.
Dude.
39 is not old.
When we're talking about sports, guys, I'm old, man. Yeah. LeBron's going to retire soon, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Training age, if you've been training for a long time, you've probably been training a lot longer than I have. I think my training age is 15 years, and yours is...
Yeah, way less than that.
Yeah, so...
I'd say half that.
Yeah, the overuse is going to catch up to you, and you're going to have to take precautions. For me now, I remember, when I was in college, I never, or even before college, when I was in high school, I never had to warm up for anything. I could hop into a race cold turkey. I can hop into the weight room cold turkey, and start squatting or benching or whatever. Now, my warm ups take half an hour if I really want to perform well. So, and then I always try to do some kind of mobility workout, whether it be yoga or one of those apps GoWad or RomWad.
Yeah, RomWad.
You know what?
You know what I think? You know what I think's gonna happen with your track track record, Darren, I think you're gonna go hard into yoga, and then you're gonna start an ashram next to Arena Fitness.
I like it.
And you're gonna be the most buff, most aggressive looking yogi.
I want to call it.
And you're somehow gonna injure yourself doing it.
That'd be a catchy name. Dude, I'd sign up for it. Fuck it.
You know,
It's like
I'll go hard, man.
You can come rub the dot pod.
whatever I do,
Well,
man,
like-
I go hard.
Yeah, sprinter mentality, fly or die.
Honestly, guys, my mentality throughout my whole training career, stupidity as it may seem, was to literally never stop, never quit, no matter what. When I busted my pec off the bone, and they surgically repaired it within a couple of days, I was back on the mat, and my arm was tied into my belt, and I was training.
Nice.
And I haven't taken a week off in since 2000, the year 2000, and you know what? I'm taking a week off as of the past 2 weeks. I haven't trained in 2 weeks, but I'm still at home on the ground, on the mats, training. But this, I believe that this period of time that we're going through at the moment with this unrest and the crisis is that it's a time for us to stop and reset and rethink. And if up until this point you've been resting and not doing anything at all, then you're going to find this.
It's a time to get fat.
Yeah. Well, exactly, Mark. Exactly. And for people like us, it's a time to sit and relax, not to worry about losing our gains and all that sort of thing. And I think it's a time for us to really stop and think and reset and regroup and transcend and transform.
Yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, I mean, people always like been wanting to, like, oh, I wish I had more time. I wish I had more time.
Yep.
Well, now you have more time.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, like you, but there's always things you can do. Like, I actually signed up for like online classes now, and I just shared a link with Mark.
Sure.
I'm taking like a online nutrition class from Stanford University currently, which is I'm learning things about food that I wish I didn't know.
That's right.
That's gonna be really cool because now you can say you went to Stanford.
So yeah, especially like from like a very prestigious school like Stanford. But yeah, it's like there's so many things. Like I've actually been doing like I was a sprinter in college, so 200 and down was my events. So now I've been doing pure endurance, a couple of workouts there. One of them made me throw up.
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty intense, and it was like 4 rounds, the max interval you can go on the air bike, the Airdyne bike, and after like not only did my quads blow up after like the first 2 rounds, like you start getting that pulmonary edema where you can't breathe, and like every breath hurts, and I guess I didn't. Yeah, I guess I ate too much prior to it, and all the breakfast came up after that. So, but it's good to like push yourself and work on different things. Like I've been trying to work on getting I've always had a pretty low heart rate, and I think the lowest my heart rate was when I was competing was like 40 beats per minute.
Wow.
So I wanted to try to get under 40 beats per minute.
You'll be dead,
That's
man.
like the goal.
Well, what's cool? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's cool is there's always something to work
Yeah.
on, and like you said, Darren. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm going insane.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I really want to lift something, but it really is a time for self-reflection and reassessing certain things. Like I'm training with a girl now, and we're gonna work on some gymnastics progressions, so that it feeds into a lot of the things that I want to do.
Yes.
And I joked about you doing the whole yoga bit, but I mean that's gonna be something that'll potentially get you back maybe a few years or something as far as your training and keep you doing the things that you enjoy. It's just most people, especially people on the outside who kind of get into this and they're always excited about fitness culture, and they think that like if they buy all the gear and they do all the workouts today, then they're gonna be fit like tomorrow.
Yeah, it's more consistency. Like
It is, yeah.
it is all consistency.
Totally.
I mean, like, there's just a lot of consistency on your part there. Like
Yeah.
he was saying, you just went hard for years on everything that you ever decided that you were going to end up doing.
Yeah, I did. I went hard and I never quit. But
Where does that come from, though? Like, where do you think that comes from?
I think that comes from not wanting to be what I used to be, and I think that comes from being as far away from what I used to be as possible. And I went from a derelict, drug-addicted person, alcohol-dependent victim to an elite athlete, and you can't get any further apart in polar opposite, right? You know, all of my friends, man, all of my fucking friends are in jail or fucking dead. You know, and that from the old days, and that certainly could have and should have been me. And my doctor said to me when I was 17, he said, "You're going to die or go to jail. Take your choice." You know, obviously the better choice was jail, but then I chose this other path. And one day he met with me and saw me and said, "Fucking hell, man!" And he got to tears, and he's just like, you know, "It's a miracle." And I said, "Nah, motherfucker, hard work." You know. And that's where I'm at.
That's all it is.
You know, it's hard work, and like you said, Mark, I really can't stress enough what you said, Mark, before, was that it's consistency. It's not hard work. It's because you can't work hard all the time. It's consistency. So even if you if you work at 10%, 15%, 20%, as long as you keep moving forward.
Yeah, Mark Bell said the same thing, and you just said the same thing too. When you said the next day after you got your arm in the sling, you just tucked your arm in your belt, and you just kept rolling and doing what you could with what you had. And for most people, I think
they always see like I got injured.
They have an excuse.
Cop out, yeah. Like I can sit this.
They
one
didn't
out
want it in the first place. Like, somebody like that never wanted it in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like the day after I tore my labrum. Because I tore it running stadiums because I slipped and I fell. I grabbed the rail.
Oops.
I knew it was dislocated and I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? Like the trainers are, like the school was closed, so like there's no athletic trainers on campus. So I'm sitting there at the top of the stadium. I was like, well, it hurts. Yeah. It's going to hurt more if I don't take care of it. So I slammed my arm against the rail and popped it back in.
Wow.
And then ran home. Yeah, I'm fucking crazy sometimes, and I just turned 21, so I ran back to my apartment, grabbed some ibuprofen, and then grabbed some Jack Daniels, and that was my medicine for the night. And yeah, exactly.
Cheers.
Cheers. And like I didn't think too much of it until like the next day at practice, where I dove in the water and I couldn't swim. I got to the side of the pool and the trainer's like, you know, what the fuck's going on? I'm like, I can't swim. I can't lift my arm up. So he took me to the doctor. He got an X-ray and he's like, yeah, your arm's all fucked up. Wow. So I was like, all right, well, I can still kick. Like I can't use my arms right now. Or I can use one arm, so I can still do something. He's like, is that okay? He's like, you sure you want to do that? I'm like, well, what else am I going to do? Like, I'm going to sit there and watch everyone practice? Like, fuck that. No, I'm going to get in the water with them, work on some things that I can, that I know I can do and I can get better at. So there's always something you can do, whether or not, you think you can. Yeah. What's up, guys? It's Mark with Fittest podcast, and let me tell you about a project I'm working on called Streamline. Streamline is designed to make you more confident in and around the water. 15 years, I was a competitive swimmer, 8 of those years at the national level. I qualified for 2008 Olympic trials, 2009 World Champs, and again at 2012 Olympic trials. Swam competitively at Florida State University, water safety instructor, and I swam ocean rescue for a number of years. This program is designed for my CrossFit athletes. This might be the missing part of your game. For my triathletes, I know you guys struggle with that first part of the race. For my first responders, God forbid you ever have to make a water rescue or extraction. For my military candidates, combat, stroke, and water confidence drills. All of this stuff will help you swim better and more confident in the water. And guys, stay tuned for more in-depth tutorials and instruction. Thanks. All right, this is reach and go, and I'm fully extended on the kickboard with the kicking I was doing during the kick drill. I'm gonna pull underneath my body with a straight arm all the way past my hips,
My right arm stays on my right side. My left arm stays on its left side. There's no crossover. Nice high elbow on the recovery. You get as much extension on your reach as possible. You always want to reach out to the board in a full straight arm. My breathing is to the side, and I always want to have one goggle in, one goggle out. My head position in the water is looking straight down at the black line. My body is going to rotate around my head, so my head does not move unless it is to breathe. The more you can minimize your movement, the more efficient you'll be in the water. So once again, same strong kick you had on the kicking drill. Body pulls with a straight arm. Your body's going to rotate around your head, and you're going to breathe one goggle in, one goggle out. Nice high elbows on the recovery, and always reaching as far as you can on extension. This is reach and go.
I don't know if you watched like the CrossFit Games in the past years or recently. Like they've added a lot of swim events.
I love the damn CrossFit Games, man. I love that shit.
Yeah. Why are Aussies so good at swimming? That's what I want to know.
What are those? Where are those girls from? Are they Dutch?
Iceland.
Iceland. What are their names?
Yeah. Annie Thorsdottir, Katrin Davidsdottir.
Davidsdottir.
Yeah.
And what's the guy's name that's kicking everyone's ass?
Matt Fraser.
Matt Fraser, man. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Dude.
To me, right now in sports in the world, and sorry to interrupt, but in the world right now, I think Matt Fraser is the baddest motherfucker on the planet.
Dude, I agree. He's probably my favorite athlete just because of his personality.
He's the
his work
only
ethic,
athlete.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause
he's like the true.
that's an athlete.
True athlete. Yeah. Like he eats, sleeps, and breathes it, and he even said like I'm not looking to do this forever, and after this is done, I don't want to coach. I just want to have a bunch of I want to have literate kids and live my life, and I'll probably sit at a desk the rest of my life, but at least I have this in the moment.
What's crazy with Matt is that I think you mentioned that he kind of had a similar situation where he was just, to use Darren's word, a derelict for a little bit.
Yeah, like a lot of people don't know that story. Like he was a derelict for a long time.
Even though he was like he came from good pedigree. Like his parents were like
both his parents were Olympians. He was still an alcoholic while he was at the Olympic camp training. Like he would like sneak out and like drink and like throw up and then go lift weights after that. And then
So what sets him apart? Why is he so far ahead of everybody else?
I think he's eliminated all other distractions. Like he's got like the best of both worlds, where he's got his mom's side where he loves to train and he'll do he'll basically put himself in situations where he'll do anything to beat the other person or in training wise. And then when he competes, like he competes with everything. Like he's like, I don't care if I break something, I'm going to win with this.
So how do people
whatever event
find what he's got? How do we get to that level?
It's something like I feel like it's something you have to be a little bit born with, like that kind of like chip on your shoulder, or that mentality, and the mental toughness of just training, like putting in the hard hours of training, that mental toughness area, to where like this part's easy. I've already done this 1,000 times in training. Like this is nothing. So
that's something I've been trying to figure out, because I felt like coming out of high school I didn't really have that, so I've had to sort of biohack all of that stuff. For me, it's realizing, like I said earlier in my story, that you prove to yourself that you have a track record of winning, even if it's the smallest little thing. You have a daughter, I have a daughter, And that, like, I really recognize that kids nowadays have it so easy because they get all of the knowledge that we have and all of the terrible experiences that we've had, and then they get to just reap the rewards of, if you tell a kid that, here's something I'm working on with my daughter lately. I've been telling her, if you make sure that your knees always track with your feet, you're going to make sure that as you grow up, your knees won't get hurt. And she says, okay, I'm going to pedal my bike with my knees straight, with my feet, so I don't hurt my leggies. So simple little things like that stick in their minds, and then it's just a matter of proving it over time that this is the winning approach. Yeah, because for me, I was, again, like, I grew up in a home where it was a lot of negative reinforcement. So at some point I was just like, it just doesn't work for me anymore. Like, you can yell at me and you can get mad at me, you can go right up in my face, I'm just gonna laugh at you or I'm just gonna ignore you because it's not gonna motivate me to do anything. But if I see that, so I just started jiu-jitsu, but if I see that if I drill a certain move over and over and over again, but I also watch myself fail because I'm doing the opposite of what I should be doing, that has helped me to realize that the winning path is the way to actually achieving something greater. And like you said, I kind of felt like there was a little bit of a big feeling of triumph when you said that you became an elite athlete from who you once were. So when you can prove to yourself that I can come from nothing and become something great, I think that's what it is. But you have to take those small incremental steps with consistency, and proving to yourself over time. That's how I've come to realize how that works.
I love that. I really do. I love that. I love that. That sentiment of consistency, and it's not consistency over a day. It's not consistency over a week, a year. It's consistency over many, many, many hard, arduous years. You can't become great at anything in a short amount of time. I think it takes. I mean, you can drive a car. You can learn to drive a car in a month, but you can't be a NASCAR driver, in a month. You can learn jiu-jitsu. You can learn the moves to get you out of trouble in jiu-jitsu in a month. You can learn to swim from one side of the pool to the other in a month, but you're not going to become elite in a month. It takes years. And man, how many times have we heard of the Matt Frasers and even you guys and me? How many times have we looked in the mirror and thought, it's over, I'm going to quit? And it's what you get. It's what you say back to yourself when you have those thoughts. I think I'm going to quit. Mm-hmm. What keeps you going is why you started.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And so to tell a quick story with that, like I told Mark already, but like my transition from when I moved down from New York to Florida, I was already at the pedigree of swimming in New York, and I already qualified for
top of the top.
Top of the top. Like I was a state runner-up in New York as an 8th grader, like not even in high school yet. And then when I came to Florida, swimming down here is at a whole different level. And my first day of practice, I was thoroughly embarrassed, to say the least. I was getting beat by girls half my size, and the culture of the team that I was on, if you were swimming too slow, they would grab you by your ankle, then grab you by your shoulder, throw you underneath them, and swim over you. And I wanted to quit my first day of practice, and I had a coach pull me aside. He's like, "Look, you have great potential. It's like it's going to get easier every day. Just keep working hard, keep showing up." And I had teammates in the locker rooms like, "Hey man, like we remember our first day of practice. Like it's going to get easier. Just keep your head up. Like this is for you. Like if you stick with this program, you're going to be great." And like at that point, like I already had a taste of blood. Like I was like, "Look, I'm not going to get beat by these girls anymore. Like this shit's getting old real quick. Like that's not going to happen anymore." And I had, some of the older guys were like, "Look, we need another guy on the team that can score points. Like we need a guy who can literally fire everyone up. So we need you to stick with it." And I think if it wasn't for those teammates and that that whole experience, like I don't think I'd be the athlete that I was or that I am now. They definitely shaped me, and like I got humbled real quick coming from New York down to Florida. Like the swimming was definitely at a whole different level, and then like I just wanted more. Like after that, I was like, you know, if this is how it's going to be, the culture of the team, like they're going to run me over in practice. Like I'm going to make sure I'm not going to get run over, and then I'm going to run over people who are in my way after that. So it was kind of it kind of fed my chip on my shoulder, but
Yeah.
it definitely helped.
What you're saying is so common, I think, among athletes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think I think even Gary, because we're all familiar with Gary Vee. I know you definitely. I think you took what Gary said and you really ran with it, Darren. And I think a lot of what Gary talks about is kind of is on the same vein of like athleticism and really like you can front all you want. You can even front and have the genetics, you can have the pedigree, but if you're not consistent, just on a day-to-day, like Gary said all the time, it's just like, I'm just
That's right.
consistent.
Yeah.
It's just the consistency that matters.
is just the key, and like,
Yeah.
I'll even say fuck genetics because I wasn't a prototype swimmer
No,
or
you're
a
not.
prototype athlete,
Yeah.
so you know, I definitely worked harder and earned my spot more than a lot of people did.
I think it makes you lazy.
Yeah.
You know? I think people who have it like that, where they have the genetics or they have the pedigree, they're that's probably. I wonder if that's what kind of drove Matt to a place where he was like, well, my parents are Olympians. I've been doing this probably for a long, long time. Like, I don't really need to pay attention. I think it can make you.
I think what stoked the fire under his ass too, though, was he got second 2 times, like in 2 games, like in a row, but it was only by marginal points, and it was because of an event he fucked up. And the second time he got second was he finished second because of the last event. He went out too hard and made mistakes, and for a great athlete, they beat that they're so hypercritical of themselves.
Yeah.
Which like I was, and I'm sure like you know you're hypercritical of yourself. Like you, if you lose, it's because it's your fault. You don't blame anybody else, and like that just like it stoked another fire under his ass, and he's like, you know what, like I'm gonna eliminate all my mistakes. I'm gonna become really great at this, and he became dominant at everything. Like
Yeah.
honestly, I cringe at some of his swimming, but it's definitely marginally better than it was before. If you saw one of his sprint events, like Matt was, I think in 2016, or 2015, Matt finished dead last in the sprint event. And in 2016, he finished first in the sprint event. He made like that huge jump from 40th to first within a year, because he was like, you know what, I'm going to really humble myself. I'm going to run with the high school track team and really get good at this, because I don't want to be embarrassed at the sprint event. Like that's the mark of every athlete. Like I should be able to sprint. And he turned it around big time in the sprint event. It shocked a whole bunch of people. And it shocked everyone on the endurance event too, because he's a world level weightlifter. And they're like, first event's going to be a 7K run, and Matt Fridger's probably not going to finish first. And he crushed everyone by like over 2 minutes. So it's definitely a mark of a good athlete to overcome like those adversities.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a couple of points there that I want to touch on, and that is when genetics meet hard work, the Matt Frasers with their parents and their genetics are on point, and then they add hard work and they add consistency. That's when you become the top of the top.
Yeah.
Another thing is what you said before, Mark, about being hypercritical of our achievements or our failures. That's why I hate team sports. That's why, because, no one's there to drag me down. No one's there to push me up. I am responsible for winning, and I'm responsible for losing. I'm responsible for not showing up. And that's what I love about the pursuits that I've gone through with bodybuilding and myself. I was a sprinter as well at a young age, and I went back to sprinting between bodybuilding and jiu-jitsu. I went to sprinting, and I ran an 11.5 at 230 pound body weight.
That's crazy.
So fast, dude.
That's fast.
I was pumping, and but
That's like NFL running back speed.
No way.
man, I was heavy and I was fucking fast. And I've
That's
been
scary.
asked to play in NFL a lot of times. Even they have leagues down here, but I went from bodybuilding to bodybuilding, sprinting, and then to jiu-jitsu. But I tried basketball back in the day in my younger years, and I played at a pretty elite level down here. But I found that I was getting frustrated because my outcome was determined by other people's input, which I didn't assimilate with that.
Yeah, and like that was one of the things that I loved about swimming, where it's everything's on you at that point. Like the race is all that matters. Like, and I was on relays where thankfully I was blessed to have awesome teammates who were on the same level. And like, our team mascot was the Sharks on the swim team. So the lane that was in was called the Shark Pit. Like, if you were coming into the Shark Pit, like you're definitely going to get messed up. Like,
let me ask you a question though. Yeah. If you're not going to make a swim team if you're shit, you're not going to make a swim team if you're lazy. By byproduct of being in that swim team, you have got to a certain level. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're keeping your opponent, you're keeping your teammates to account. Is that right?
Yeah. Like like our girls team was probably our pride and joy my freshman year. Like the coaches pretty much shit on the guys team. Like we were all on the same team, but they favor the girls team more because they've already won a national title, and the guys we were no close to having one. And even the girls who didn't score points were riding us, or like, oh, you guys are insignificant. And the coaches were like, oh, you guys team is shit. So some of the older guys were like, dude, we need to change this. Like, I'm tired of being second fiddle to the girls team. And I was like, yeah, so am I. Like, I get shit on all the time for, just being like on the guys team. Like, that's not cool. So like, we kind of turned it around my sophomore and junior year, where we won 2 titles back to back. And like, what got us to that point was like, we raced every day in practice, and like we had 10 to 12 guys who were willing to put it on the line every day in practice, even in and out of the pool. Like in the weight room, we put in the time, which helped tremendously. And then like, in the pool, like we just pretty much ran over every girl we saw, just like put them in their place, which sounds totally terrible, but like just to start like a dominance. And then like our senior year, we had a tragedy where my head coach ended up taking his own life, and it brought the team so much closer together. And then we had like an assistant coach, or assistant coach has always been there, but then we got a new coach who the team just didn't really vibe, but we wanted to win this last national title, or at least for our seniors, for our former coach. And it really brought us all together, and we have this team model for the team, which brought everyone together. But like, as I said, like, individual sports, is what made me, because like every failure and every success was because of me, and like I had to put in the hard work consistently. And to bring it into the team aspect, like for swimming, it's the only time you're on a team is on relays. So every single person has to be in that same mentality, in that same boat, essentially, to get that team victory. In order, everyone has to swim a perfect race. So, we had that opportunity. My 3 years, like our best relay was the 4x200 relay, which I was a part of, and I got to anchor it for 3 years, and take home the title every single time. And the last year, we set the national record swimming. So, which was, we didn't do that for ourselves. We did that for our coach, because that was his favorite relay, and as his legacy, amazing. Yeah. But,
What do you do CrossFit, Matt?
I did CrossFit at Real Fitness Sarasota, and then I started doing it, on my own at home. I was really into it for like 5 years, like with the Open and all the things. And then after, when the Open changed, the like online competition changed, where the Open really doesn't matter. You have to be like the #1 in the country that you're competing in. to get to the games, like I was like, I'm gonna do this for fun to keep you healthy, and like if my fitness level inspires other people, then better for it, because like that's really what I want to do things now for. Like I don't need to compete anymore. I've already achieved a level of greatness that I wanted to achieve. Like, being Olympic trial qualifier, swimming collegiate in college, like those are all accolades that no one can ever take away from me. But if I can inspire people, by working hard consistently every day, like that's my life goal now.
That's cool.
Other topics we got?
I mean, I think we all kind of strive to do that. That's one of the cooler things that I've seen in Darren with what you're doing with it's Arena, right? Arena's your basically the whole of everything that you've got.
Okay, so downstairs. Okay, so there's been a few changes. So downstairs I've got Trojan Jiu-Jitsu, which is Trojan Academy, which is my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy with kids, teens and adults. Upstairs at my academy I have a gym. They've moved out, so they've shut down during the crisis, and they've moved on to that was a separate gym. I did have some stakes in that gym previously, but then I relinquished those. They've moved out. So upstairs now, I'm going to start a new outfit. I'm going to have yoga, and I'm going to have fitness, but I'm erring towards more CrossFit style than bodybuilding, or mums and bubs type of stuff more than elite. But I do think that CrossFit style training, that interval circuit style training is for everyone. But I do have Trojan Academy downstairs. I have the fitness upstairs, and upstairs in the fitness area is actually where my studio is, where I run my podcast from. So I have it all in one. Obviously tonight I'm at home because I brought everything over, but I have everything in one warehouse.
Nice.
That's nice.
That's like a perfect setup right there.
Well, it's part of like
this is on like command center bat cave kind of deal.
And it's a good way to. It's a good way.
I am fucking Batman, boys.
Awesome.
Well, I mean,
we're gonna try to do that though. We're gonna try to
we're trying to establish the same. Because I mean, for me, what got me, one of the things that really pushed me in the fitness space was like when I got into powerlifting, and I wanted to build out. What I'd like to do is to create a gym that's free to people who want to use it, and it's just funded by and serviced by everything else that I'm doing. Like, if you really want to come in and train, come on in and train. You have access to it. It's removing that barrier of excuses where, I can't afford the membership. It's right there. It's free. You can use it. And everything else, all of my endeavors, all the other jobs and things that I'm doing, all the projects that I'm creating are meant to funnel into that, and getting to know people like you, Darren, and Mark, and whoever else that comes along the way. I'd like to have those people be sort of the subject matter experts of all of these different unique things, and have them to be able to come in and say, today Darren's going to come in and or someone who represents Trojan is going to do something for jiu-jitsu and grappling. If you hang out tomorrow or whatever, Mark's going to be there and he's going to do some dry land practice for swimming. All of it is just, I think, the thing that, I guess you could say that the chip on my shoulder is I always wanted, and it's not necessarily like a real like mark on my parents, it's just they were just busy because they were trying to survive in this new world. But I really wanted for someone to be able to say, hey buddy, you want to learn how to swim? I'll take you by the hand.
You wanted
here's what we're gonna do. Yeah.
Like I'm a huge advocate of, like, I love gym communities and just like communities in general. Like, coming from a swim background, my parents had a swim school. Like my mom and my stepfather had a swim school, and it was open to everyone. If you needed to learn how to swim, your kids need to learn how to swim, they'd have it for you. Yeah. And the instructors were swimmers they had, like the high school level swimmers they had. And my parents, like my dad was in the pool every day. Yeah. Teaching kids how to swim. My mom was in the pool every day teaching kids how to swim. She's still, obviously with the quarantine, she's not, but like, she's 54, and she's still teaching swim lessons every day and like traveling to people's houses and teaching kids how to swim. And like that whole thing, like when I was swimming in high school and college, like we had athletes come train with us all the time, and you know that was really cool. I had a Olympian from Brazil train with our swim team, and you know he taught us a lot of things, and you know it was really good for us to like try to race him every day in practice. Even though he got tired of it, he's like, dude, I don't want to go hard in practice every day or every set. But we were like, come on, like you know how many how often is it that we have an Olympian in the pool with us? Like that's freaking awesome. So like that thing and like CrossFit in like the earlier days, I talked about this in our earlier podcast, like you could drop into any CrossFit gym and like train with whoever, and like you know the drop-in fee was like, hey, you know if you like our gym, like buy a t-shirt. And you're like, yeah dude, I'll totally support you. And that's how I've always, like I've been to probably about 15 CrossFit gyms in the United States, and I've only had 2 bad experiences, and 15 out of 2 is pretty good. And like the two bad experiences were quite awful.
Yeah.
Like they were like, and those are places like where like I would definitely tell people, like, yeah, I wouldn't want to train there ever again. But like the other 13 gyms that I went to, I had wonderful experiences, and I bought T-shirts from them, and I'll definitely support them. I was like, hey, if you're going, to Orlando, hey, make sure you drop in at this gym, because the community is really strong, and like the people are awesome, and they have like great equipment and all that stuff. And I feel like that kind of fitness the fitness community, and like that's how it should be, where if you want to train and work hard, and like you're more than welcome to show up and drop in.
Yeah, I'm honestly, Darren, I'm honestly a little envious of what you've got going on, and I probably want to pick your brain at some point on how you put it all together with the
Man, I'll
space
tell you
you
right
have.
now, man, I started out with this building. I rented this building, and I said to the guys that were building it, can I move in? And they said, yeah, you can rent it. And they said, but it's not finished. And I said, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to move in. There was no PowerPoints. There was no power. So I lived upstairs on the floor with no carpet on an army stretcher for 3 months. And then I used external power to put lights on. And I showered in the gym shower. And then I'd come in the morning and pretend as if I just arrived with everybody else. And there I was, living in this facility and creating a jiu-jitsu academy, a gym, and then later came my studio where I teach kids how to make films, the podcast, the gym, yoga, all this stuff. I did that by just pure grit, and yeah, man, I did it because the best thing about what I love about myself is that I'm comfortable with nothing. And I think that's it's a huge thing that if you don't have it, look for it, and look for. I think we started off, Mark, talking way earlier in this conversation about being comfortable, uncomfortable. I think a lot of people will do things if they're comfortable, but I thrive being uncomfortable. So when I built my gym, and this is not the first gym I've slept in before. Let me tell you that. I had a gym up the road in another state, and I slept in the attic, and then I built the gym that way. So the reason why I have this awesome setup is because I've slept on the floor. That's my point.
Yeah.
That's going to be when you create your online course on how to build a gym. Sleep in the attic, steal power from
100%.
Somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, like there's a lot of athletes who've done that too. Like, one of my favorite like athletes recently. I don't know if you know who Ryan Fisher is.
No, enlighten me.
He has his own podcast now. It's called Real Chalk. But so he was a great athlete. before he started into CrossFit, but he was like on the U.S. bobsled team. He had like all the degrees, like he had exercise, master's in exercise science and a master's in nutrition, and he couldn't find a job in California. He moved out from New Jersey to California, and when CrossFit became really big, he's like, this is what I'm going to start doing. And he was basically living in his car, sleeping on like a friend's couch, stealing food from Whole Foods on his pursuit to make it to the CrossFit Games. And he was like this no-name person beating all these like games level athletes while still living in his car and sleeping. Like he didn't have his own shoes; he had borrowed shoes from, and like he was just killing it. And after that he obviously got a sponsorship after like his first regionals, and like people started giving him money. He started making money for himself and got like some food and everything. But he was still like pretty much homeless basically, and like refused to go back home, and like even though his mom was like begging him to. And he now has like one of the world's like best CrossFit gyms, CrossFit Chalk in California, and I forget where it's at.
San Diego, or where is it?
I think it's Santa Barbara, maybe Santa Barbara. But yeah, like I mean, he's like there's a couple of YouTube videos where like he says in like in his podcast, like people don't know the whole story. Like they always remember his 2013 regional performance where he was getting no reps on an event. It was like he had a deadlift like 315 for like 20 reps, and he's only 5'5", so like the range of motion is very short for him. But he at the time like he had like a 600-pound deadlift, so like 315 is nothing for him. He can deadlift it properly, and he was getting no reps. And all he wanted to do was qualify for the games. He had to be top 3, and after no rep after no rep after no rep, he looked at the judge. He's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you if you keep no repping me." Wow. He kind of like blew up, and it cost him his CrossFit career. But people didn't know the whole story. Like they didn't know he was homeless. They didn't know like this was the only thing that he was going for. Like this was like basically his sole purpose. And then after that, obviously things turned around for him, and he started personal training people, and he met one of the founders of MySpace, or one of the owners of MySpace, and like he gave him like a $1 million loan to open up a gym, and now he runs like one of the most like successful gyms. He slept in his car for years. He slept on a couch for years. Yeah. Like he's a really like down to earth person. Like I'd love to talk to him, and like I almost went down to Wadapalooza just to meet him. But he's like one of the more recent like favorite athletes.
What do you guys think of this notion? I think athletes that have come from nothing have an unfair advantage.
Unfair advantage?
I think that I think
so
that
too.
people that come from nothing have the advantage of wanting it more than the people that come from privilege.
Yeah,
as a notion,
earlier.
not as a rule, just as a notion.
Hunger.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that like you just have the hunger, and you want to strive for it more.
You definitely want it more. You appreciate it more too.
Because when you're given it on a silver platter, if you're born into the fitness family, and you have a family that's done this forever, I think it's easy to get lost in just saying, well, I got this in the bag. I don't need to work that much harder.
It's like, like if you like, it would have been so easy. Like if we go back to Fraser, like it would have been so easy for him to be like, both my parents are Olympians. I'm going to be an Olympian. He's like, no, like that's not like. I think his mom like put it to him like, no, that's not how it works. Like, you need to work your ass off to get to there, and like, it would have been so easy for me. It's like, oh, my mom was a swimmer. Like I would have been. I'm going to be a great swimmer. It's like my dad put it. She's like, no, if I ever have to wake you up for practice, that would be the last time you ever swim. Yeah. Like that, that notion, like, you need to work hard for it. And like, I'll tell you another quick story. Like, my freshman year of high school down here, I didn't qualify for states, and I made excuses for myself, like, oh, all the athletes were older than me, all the athletes were taller than me. And on my way home, like, my dad stopped the car, and he's like, It's like, no, you didn't make mistakes because you didn't work hard enough. It's like you're gonna start making excuses for the rest of your life. Like you're gonna start saying like they're whiter than you. It's like, is that the excuse you're gonna have? I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. So I was like, no, like I can't write on excuses. So like at that point, I was like, all right, well, you're absolutely right. I didn't work hard enough to make states. So like now I need to bust my ass even more to want it. And like he's like, don't make excuses for yourself. Like you're not gonna, like no one's gonna pity you. Like you're gonna have to work your ass off to show people what you're worth. So that's always stuck with me. You know, that car ride. It was only like half an hour, but it's still like it's stuck with me it's gonna stick with me forever. And like you know, when I have kids, I'm gonna tell them that.
That's
really
that story. Powerful. Yeah. Grandpa turned around and said that I should stop making excuses for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, guys.
It's really, yeah. It's just really a tense moment in my life. So
I think you guys are doing a good thing. You know, reaching out and getting these type of conversations done. Far out, like you know, Mark. I've known you for what have we known each other now? 3 years.
I think 3 years, yeah. And I've watched you like really progress. I literally, I don't even remember how we ended up meeting each other, but we met each other online, and I know that you and I both were really into Gary Vee, but you really just took everything that Gary said and you just applied it.
I've always said, I hope Gary Vee doesn't see this, but I've always said I was Gary Vee before Gary Vee was Gary Vee. He taught me very little, man, but he taught me nothing. But obviously he's a phenomenal guy. But what he did for me, I'm a huge believer. If you go to a seminar and learn nothing, that means you're on the right track. Do you see that? Like if you go to Anthony Robbins' seminar and you're like, I knew all that, then you're good. So when Gary Vee talks, I think, yep, I'm doing all of that. I know all of that. I don't talk as much as he does, but I love Gary Vee 100%. There's nothing about Gary Vee I don't like. And there's a few other people that I follow, obviously, and most of them, you know what, guys? Most of the guys that I follow are from America. I don't know what you motherfuckers are drinking over there, but you know, a
lot of fucking
come on over. We've got plenty of sharks here
motivating.
too.
You know, you guys are pushing limits. I absolutely, and you two have got such a dynamic kind of duo going on. I think you guys have got a huge thing going on here.
You know, it's funny that you say that. If you go to a seminar or if you watch someone like Gary Vee and you realize that nothing that he's saying is anything new, that you're on the right track. For me,
it's reassuring.
Sure,
it's like it validates that you're on. That's what it is. And I think that's hard for some people because Mark just said earlier that you can be really critical of yourself sometimes, or a lot of times. I think it's hard to see how much you are on the right path sometimes until you see someone else doing the exact same thing and succeeding on a much bigger level. So for you, it's like for you and myself, like this has been something that I've been telling myself and something I've been telling people is that if people have been complimenting you about a particular thing for years, it must be true. Mm-hmm. No matter how much you think that maybe they're just blowing smoke up your butt or maybe they're just trying to be nice, it must be true in some degree. The fact that you're succeeding in something probably means that if you just keep going down this path, because I mean, the reason why I'm so amazed with what you've done with your media work is because you and I kind of started in about the same time frame.
Yeah, you're true.
With pretty much the same equipment, and you just ran with it. And for me, there was a lot of self-doubt there that got in the way of my progress. And it really wasn't until recently when I thought, okay, I've been doing this for years, and people somehow keep saying, back in Los Angeles, that's where I originally came from, keep saying, they look at my stuff and they go, you're doing amazing things, like congratulations, and I'm over here looking at my life, living it, and going, what am I doing? Yeah. So it's sometimes it's hard to be in the midst of it and recognize just the good that you're doing, and so it helps to kind of see someone like a Gary Vee to validate what did you say, to reaffirm?
Reaffirm or reassure, yeah.
Reassure you that you are doing exactly that very right thing.
Yeah, man, it's like, people say to me, have you seen Gary Vee? And Josh, as you guys have met, you know Josh, right? Josh just laughs. Josh laughs and says, this guy is fucking Gary Vee. You know, obviously not on the scale, because Gary Vee's got millions and millions and millions of dollars and infrastructure and all the rest of it. But what Josh means by that is we live the lifestyle, and the lifestyle's not pretty.
Yeah.
If there's anything that, if anyone's listening, and when we publish this thing, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all this thing, if there's anything that I can say to people is that you've got to be willing to get dirty. You've got to be willing to stay dirty. You've got to be willing to get outside your comfort zone. You've got to be willing to stay outside your comfort zone. I live outside my comfort zone. I can see my comfort zone, but I live outside it.
Yeah. Like nothing I ever achieved was inside my comfort zone.
100%.
Absolutely.
Everything
I love
was
that.
outside of it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one thing that I was taught very early on is that in order for you to create the life that you imagine, so whenever a rocket has to leave Earth and go into space and go into orbit, it needs to reach a certain terminal velocity that it has to escape Earth's gravity. And trying to escape the gravity of your old life requires you to create a lot of massive action, a lot of massive momentum that's going to push you outside of what you're normally comfortable with. And that's the same experience as like when you take a rocket out in space. You're away from the warmth of the planet that you're used to, the land, the
Mark, you got to slow down. You got to slow down, brother. I know
things.
about lifting weights. I don't know about no fucking rockets.
Well, I mean, it's just, the thing is like when you take it to like lifting weights, for example. Like for me, it was like, okay, I just deadlifted 450. Maybe I can do 475. Maybe I'll break my back. I don't know. I will never know unless I try. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to trying or pushing anything outside of your boundaries, you have to push far beyond what you're normally comfortable with. Like you said, you slept in the attic, you slept in the gym, you slept in whatever space that you had, and you pulled together all of these resources and things to create the thing that you have now. And for me, I didn't know that story. I didn't know that that's how you got this building that you have, and I've seen it in videos and photos and all of these things, and I've seen you do the things that you do. And it's easy for me to think, oh, this guy is just, has had sort of a charming life where he got into bodybuilding, he got all this acclaim, people already knew him, he had a name, he did jiu-jitsu, it was a natural transition for people to go, oh, he's doing jiu-jitsu, let's follow him do that too. Yeah. And then now he's doing media, let's follow Darren do the media thing. He made a zombie movie, like casted all these people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think like it's easy to see that and go, oh, he just has like.
Well, I feel like people always see the highlights of your life.
There you go.
Yeah.
And like that's what, unfortunately, that's what social media is. Like they just show like the highlights. They never see like the failures of your life.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't know. Like when I got injured, I was really depressed. It took me a long slump to get out of that. Like when I stopped being a police officer, I was really depressed. Like it took a lot of people close to me to get me out of that.
Yeah.
Like there are certain things in your life that the world doesn't see, and then like you tell these stories like it's like you said like if you saw me swimming, you would have been like, oh, Mark's a great athlete. He's like, little did you know, like I was a shitty practice swimmer. Like I sucked at practice, but if you put me in the meet or if you put me in the competition, I was lights out. I was a totally different athlete. And like just people didn't understand that.
I get that 100%. I really love what you just said because it leads me on to say this next thing.
Yeah.
The people only see the highlights of our life because that's all we show. And people absolutely love, and this is why I became a filmmaker, Mark. If you're thinking about asking me a question of why I got into media and filmmaking, it's this. I loved behind the scenes as a kid. I used to watch the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
And I didn't give a fuck about the movie. I would wait till the end of the VCR and I would watch the behind the scenes when they take their mask off and they do their outtakes. People love behind the scenes. People love, and this is why vlogs are fucking massive. Do you guys watch Casey Neistat? Mm-hmm. Right, so Casey Neistat, Gary Vee, all these people are showing the ups and the downs. And people,
Yeah. People love real. Yeah.
people love real, and that's why vlogs and YouTube are killing fucking mainstream media.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I feel like, you know, we've had like some really real conversations here now.
Yeah.
So like this is awesome content. And like, you know, you shared your life story with us, and like I shared my life story, you shared your life story. So
Yeah.
like I said, like it all circles back to like if this can help somebody else, like that's all that matters. So like this is awesome.
It's part of. I think it's honestly part of the legacy of me wanting to do this. And I come from a very similar place with doing media. For me, it's like photos are highlights. People have asked me, and I've been struggling to find an answer for why did I transition into film. And I did that because, like you,
it tells more of a story.
It tells more of a story, and you can go into the behind the scenes. And like you, I loved. There was a show on Discovery Channel. I think it was called Movie Magic, where they would show the behind the scenes of how they created the. They created the. Like when they showed how in Independence Day, they showed like the model of Washington D.C. and it was like on a wall, and in order for the flames to look as realistic as it was, like cascading through the city when that big explosion hits from the ship, like they showed like it like the flame like rising up, and they shot it from like a downward angle, and that's why it looks so good. Mm-hmm. So things like that really kind of spoke to me and made me want to go and show that much of everything as well. And that's why like I want to be able to show people and have these conversations to say that Darren didn't come from an enchanted life.
Yeah.
He came from a certain kind of background, and he had to work his, like, regardless of your background, you still have to work your butt off. I just started watching this show called F1 Drive to Survive, and it's easy to see the world of F1 racing as this super glamorous thing, because it is. Mm-hmm. But Lewis Hamilton, who's been like one of the most preeminent guys, I actually just showed Mark a video with him on Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. And Lewis Hamilton like grew up in poverty in England, and his dad worked 4 jobs to support his karting career to get up to the point where he's now the preeminent driver for Mercedes. Yeah. And his brother had cerebral palsy and was living in the shadow of Lewis Hamilton. But he developed a sense for being able to become a great video game player, and has now become, like, for a guy with cerebral palsy, to have his own racing career. So it's that stuff that really like opens up the story to every individual person's life, and also in realizing that no matter what you think your excuse is as a beginner fitness person, you can become whatever it is that you strive for, as long as you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah, like that story hit me in the feels because I had a kid. I taught him how to swim.
Where you going, Mark?
Cerebral palsy, and I think I was like 16. He's fixing the camera.
I just got. I'm producing too.
So I had a kid who had a CP, Mikey, and he wasn't walking really well. He had like a walking stroller kind of thing. He was like about 4 or 5. And I worked with him every day in between practices, like during the summer. And so like my practices in the summer were 2 hours in the morning, had like a short window of a break, and then 2 hours at night, plus like weight training and all that stuff. So 4 hours a day, every day in the summer, except for like Sunday. And I worked with this kid for an hour every day in between. And by the end of the summer, like the kid could walk on his own without like walker or crutches or anything like that. And I cried because like, he's like, look, Mark, like look, because he never saw himself with limits. He never saw himself with disability, and like I never treated him like he had one. So like, if I told him, it's like, hey, you need a kick, he's like, I'm gonna go with you step by step to kick all the way down the pool. And he's like, okay. And like I make jokes with it as like, you're kicking faster than me, even though I was already at a natural level. It was like, I just play games with him and stuff like that. And he started getting competitive with me, and like I kind of like got him to lighten up and really like have fun with it. And then by the end of the summer, he was like, "Hey, look, Mark, look at what I can do." And he's
Yeah,
like
it's
walking around
amazing.
his crutches, and I'm like, "Dude, like that's like probably the most beautiful thing I've seen."
Tears.
Yeah, just like it's tears. And he's like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "I'm not crying. So I got chlorine in my eyes. It's fine. It's fine." And you know, he's now playing baseball now. So which is like he's how old is he now? He's got to be in high school now.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. That's
Yeah,
what it's
he's
all
like
about.
he's playing baseball out now in Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah, you can be once upon a time derelict who had aspirations to make something of yourself in this life. You can be like a guy who has a chip on your shoulder. You can be just like some nerdy kid, and I think all of this just gives you an opportunity, fitness, and just seeing consistency and willingness to put in the work and willingness to be uncomfortable and comfortable in uncomfortable situations. You can become something greater. And I really, like, part of this is just, if I could tell myself, my 16-year-old self, that if you just decide now to become something greater and put in the work, you will.